they might have some 4-cent beer down there. You see, if anybody they'll make sure they keep a person hooked up. So anytime we get a person from, they said, Detroit, the only third world country in America, and to be young and drop some knowledge and be dark-skinned. You know what I'm saying? Not real dark-skinned people is almost like an alien race now. You have to start off for a minute, go, because this brother here is considered dark-skinned and all, but we see some light highlights, but he's still considered dark-skinned. But to have a brother like this and all, you have to stop a little minute and all, because that lets you know something. Where are all these dark-skinned people? And now Dick Gregory made an observation, and I said, it is profound. He did it in Detroit. He said, we all went to high school. We had people in high school that were black albinos. He said, where do they go after high school? Why you don't see albinos that much after high school? And why you don't see albinos? None of them ever went to Benedict College. None of them ever went to Allen University. Every now and then you might see one. Where do the albinos go? We have to ask these questions, you see. So to have a brother 27, dropping this type of science out of doggone Beirut, Vietnam, you know what I'm saying, is great. So give a black hand for Brother Kossivi. They're up and coming. All right. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Come on with it. Hook you on up. Well. Okay. You can put it up under your shirt and all, but I'm not going to go there with you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the overhead on?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, we need to give it up for Bobby, and also everyone who helped organize this, we need to give it up for them.
That's right.
Yeah. And it not just Bobby and Phil Valentine, but not just giving it up for them now, but for the years of work.
That's right.
Particularly with this type of knowledge, because this isn't popular. It's not financially rewarding. So an extra shout out to Bobby and Valentine for years of dealing with this. But he mentioned about Detroit. They actually have churches in the middle of the neighborhoods now. Right there on Steele, they got a church in the middle of the neighborhood. So it's wild. Same thing the brother was saying about this Jesus thing. One thing about it gets so bad as far as the condition we're in as a people. So we have to look at the spiritual side of it, because trying to defeat this on a physical level, it's just not happening. Because I remember back in the early 90s, when I was into the Farrakhan thing, the brothers was ready. He used to go tour around the country and had men-only meetings. He came to the Cobo Hall, and it was about 16,000 brothers. And Farrakhan made a comment. He said, we're going to overthrow the government. And all the brothers got geeked up, like, yeah, and they're going to get geeked up. And then he said, oh, no, we're going to overthrow the government of our minds. So in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, we were kind of getting ready. And then all of a sudden, this Christian thing resurfaced, because we had left it alone for a while. And it just resurfaced, and we just recovered. We have fallen into a state of Bobby called it apathy, or he said, I remember one time in one of his lectures, he mentioned that the soul isn't working for us anymore. It had been working since slavery, because the soul knew that we wouldn't be able to handle what we was about to go through, as far as the lynchings and all this kind of thing, the tar and feather. So the soul was helping us. We was going on pure spirit. But now it seems like that's gone, because the masses are really messed up. But before I get into it, I just want to touch on this for about 5 or 10 minutes. We've been dealing with this gender thing. I just want to explain this right. I think this might help, although Bobby proved his point last night. I just want to touch on this for a second. It's kind of just to kind of simplify it, as if Bobby didn't last night. Y'all already know this, if I can get it right. Okay. So where are we at? Right here is Sirius, or the Great Mother Realm. And this would be the negative, or that feminine soul realm. And we already know that Adalaboff created this particular realm that we're at. And the soul, or depending on the myth you work, depending on the Gnostic myth, the Great Mother sent angels to replace Adalaboff's angels. And he blew the soul into us. But that soul he blew into us was that feminine negative soul. That is what is eternal. So both the men and the women have the feminine negative soul, but we are physically manifesting, I'm manifesting the masculine, and the sisters are manifesting the feminine on the physical level. So the sisters have a greater access to this particular soul because they are naturally more in tune with it, because they line up with that energy on the physical level, and we line up with it on the masculine level. So my point is to try not to look at it in terms of gender as opposed to energy. The sisters can tap into it better because they're women, and that energy is they have an easier access to it, and it's a little more difficult for us because we're more logical, or the masculine aspect of it. But when we take it out of, when we put it on the physical level or physical understanding, we can get to a lot of issues. But the bottom line is that for the men and the women to try to have this particular soul manifest, and that's the whole thing that Egypt was about. The whole concept, because if you deal with any ancient culture, all the ancient cultures, Kemet or Egypt was the main one what everybody looked towards. This is a book. Or before I touch on that, a couple things. Bobby had mentioned last night about this entity in him. I spoke to him in January, when he first had it, and it's interesting. I don't think I told him about this. Y'all spoke to them ladies in Milwaukee or Wisconsin, those white women, and they were saying, and it's interesting. Around the same time Bobby had, because he was saying this was from the homunculus. You get a book called Sexual Alchemy by Donald Tyson. They go into this homunculus. This homunculus is because Crawley and them tried to do it. They tried to do it on the physical level. In the book, they kind of said they had did it, and the person lasted for like a year or something, then they had to kill it. This is what it's like a legend in Europe. You don't know if it really happened or not. But then Crawley tried to do it with a woman. When the astrological signs is just right, you impregnate the woman and try to create this moon child. But this moon child is what we have, and that's the real immaculate conception. Because on one hand, the sisters have the baby and they go through the gestation period on the physical plane, but then on another hand, you go through a gestation on this particular this soul, and that's what this homunculus and this moon child that Crawley and them was trying to produce. But we're the ones that have it. So Bobby told me this in January, what he told y'all last night. So I don't know how, out of all the things to call you call it the soul, you call it the Christ. Out of all the different, why would these white women call this the homunculus? What did they say? The homunculus. They mentioned that that was their topic of conversation. This homunculus, and Bobby had went through that. So I don't know how. It's interesting. I don't know how they came up with that, but that's real interesting how they would, out of all the things to call it, to deal with that. Sexual Alchemy by Donald Tyson. They talk about that homunculus. You got it over there? Yeah, they talk about that homunculus. So that was very, very coincidental. Out of all the things for them to call it, I mean, that's wild. Some white women in was it Wisconsin? So that's a trip. But like the brother had mentioned about the Eddie Murphy movie, and how in that movie, Big Mama's House, how they degraded the elder black woman. And we know that they degenerated all of us in the movies. the Step and Fetch It, Hattie McDaniel, all of this kind of thing. Even the modern stuff, the PJs. But the thing, they destroyed the sister, the grandmother's image. And it was interesting that, because where I work at, I deal with a lot of elderly people, as far as my customers. And this elderly woman came in and she had purple hair. This is the first time I ever saw an elder black woman, something like 60, 70, because usually an elder black woman is like, that's royalty. And so it's interesting with a movie like Big Mama's House, they talking about the great, the sister went down on Eddie Murphy in the movie in the tub. She's supposed to be Big Mama, Grandmama, but they had, but I seen a sister come to my job and she had this purple hair, so that was also, another sign that we slipping. But then on the other hand, one thing that I've learned, a lot of times we get a lot of this anxiety and a lot of stress because it's hard when you have this type of information, this type of knowledge, when you are conscious of all this stuff. And then we can sit up here and talk, but we got to go back to work tomorrow or Tuesday, and you got to go deal with the world. That's a lot to put on you. You know what I'm saying? So, so one thing about it, and about that black hole article, and that's like a movie screen of what's going on inside of us. Just like the sun, how the sun isn't really there, it's a reflection of the sun inside of us. That's the same thing with the black hole. That black hole isn't really there, but it's a reflection, it's a movie screen of what's inside of us that's out in the atmosphere. You see what I'm saying? So, the whole concept is you become one with chaos or be consumed by it. Particularly when we get this knowledge. When we get this knowledge and we start learning, and it's like one thing about the physical realm, it's either going this way or it's going that way. Choose a side, either go to the physical or go to the chaos, where everything is going. So the planetary energy is going towards the chaos sphere. So that means our thoughts have to be lined up with chaos in order to have some type of peace of mind. Because when you deal with this type of knowledge, you're dealing with chaos. And then you go try to be all logical all the time, you're going to get ate up. I have to remind myself about that. About once every 2 months, I get caught up, you on the job, and you're doing all this physical stuff. And then you say, you be thinking that the physical is real for a minute, and you get all depressed and crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's a metaphysical thing. When Bobby get up, he all loud and he cussing and everything. That's the chaos energy. You try to keep saying, it sounds crazy, but you get really deep into this stuff and try to be logical and try to make sense of the physical world, you go crazy. So that's key. But in this book, Secret Code of the Universe, the Kabbalist Rav Berg, they mention, it says, science has known for some time that nothing exists in the universe except energy. Kabbalah takes one step further, holding that the energy of consciousness is all that really exists. Matter is merely an illusion. Our bodies and the most common material goods we acquire to benefit them can be turned back into energy in a flash of fire or a nanosecond of nuclear fusion. So what it's saying here is that nothing in the universe exists but basically consciousness, conscious energy. Because our physical bodies are going to wear out, but our souls are eternal. So, but the way we tap into those souls is through thought and through mind. So what I'm going to cover today is going to deal with that. How can we help break through this consciously? And like Bobby was talking about with the sexual thing last night, when you have sex, or if you dance or you drink, anything that deals with breaking the conscious mind, so you can, ain't that when you meditate, ain't that what you're trying to do? You're trying to meditate to break through the conscious mind so you can tap into this energy. And that's the whole concept when you talk about having an orgasm and having sex and everything they tell you not to do. Those are the things that if you do it, you can get that porthole open and get that energy. Because that's all that we got. You know, we can get crewed up and get some guns and stuff, but he already got all that mastered. You know what I'm saying? So our only defense is to tap into our powers. Otherwise, we might as well give it up. Because our people, it's so bad where it's like, I mean, what can you say? We've been over this the past 30 years. You know, so we have to, a conference like this is beautiful because we can pull all this research together and try to figure out how to tap into our spiritual powers, because until it happens, we haven't figured it out yet. So we still gotta keep plugging on this thing until we eventually figure this thing out. And that's interesting. I had saw a little bit of the Masters, and going up, I think it was either the 17th or 18th, going from hole to hole, they call it Kali. They call it Kali. They got all kind of names. They call it Kali. We're in Georgia and all this kind of stuff. So that was interesting. You know, and Tiger Woods, you know, he got a white fiance, VJ Singh, who won it last year, who's blacker than me. He's got a white wife with children. Now, if I was down in Jacksonville in the fall, and we were watching Sankofa. And because I was like, I don't understand what's wrong with these niggas. I mean, how can you, I mean, the sisters look so much better than any woman on the planet. It's like it's no comparison. It's a shutout. It's no doubt. Even I know I got a partner I grew up with. He's married to a white woman, but he bears witness that the sisters look better. So I don't understand that. You know, he got his white woman for his woman, and he go and mess around with the sisters on the side. One thing about Michael Jordan, him and Scottie Pippen is known for messing with white women, but at least he married a sister. I mean, he still messed up for doing it, but at least he married a sister for the magazine, for the picture, for the children, for his mate, and he do all that on. But at least he did that, you know. But anyway, we watching this movie, and his brother was about to get down with his sister, and he was trying to get into it and all this kind of thing. He pulled out. He couldn't. They had the cross and stuff up. He couldn't get into it because he's looking at this Christian cross. You know, and the sister got all upset, and she, you're doing all this kind of stuff, and she said something. She said, you won't want something about you won't want me until you have the Virgin Mary herself. So what we were figuring out is that this white woman thing goes a lot. It's deeper than a physical thing. We do know that they suck the energy, but also on a psychological level, if you're a Christian and you believing in a white Virgin Mary, that somehow this works into the subconscious, and you feel like you have to have the white Virgin Mary or have the next best thing, the white woman. So I don't know, maybe that explains it, but anyway, don't make it right, and I don't know what's wrong with them. But and just one more thing I'm gonna touch on before we get into the science. And I heard the brother speaking Friday, and about the sisters with this, with an attitude, or I guess with a, say, an ego trip. But what I say about that is this: you have to always, it's like in situations to try to understand what's going on. The sisters go through a double oppression. Not only are they black, their whole life is about the man this, the man that, the man this, the man that. I knew the sister used to study with us. She used to say in the church, she'd get in an argument with the brothers in the church, and they'd be like, look, you messed everything up when you ate the apple. You inferior to me. You got to do what I tell you to do, and all this kind of stuff. And this is like complexes and stuff. I mean, it's a lot of y'all say, well, I ain't going for that, but this works its way into the subconscious mind. So at some point, you having an inferiority complex that builds up, even if you don't necessarily say it, but sometimes it's there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way the culture is. The culture constantly, it's like women is like property. The highest bidder get the best woman or whatever. All the videos, the cheerleaders and everything, and have women on a whole level. The only thing that a woman get when she grow up is a doll to look cute for a man. The boys get toys that require skills. We play sports, football, where you got to figure things out. So the sister been putting up with this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, however long it is before she gets into this. So what I'm saying is, if she gets into this and she starts saying, oh wait, the great mother, the sister, and feminine, so what if she go through an ego trip? So what?
Come on, brother. That's right.
I mean, shit. It's as much, it's just, I mean, you know what I'm saying? She been going through this her whole life. So if she go through an ego trip for a year or 2 years or whatever, so what? Can you blame her? And especially as messed up we are. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, so what? Deal with it. But then on the other hand, as your knowledge increases, you realize that it's beyond the gender and it's about energy. You know what I'm saying? And so that's something that we have to try to be more understanding about, instead of taking it personal when the sister's ego trip. Let them do it. I mean, shit, they've been putting up with this for how old they are. You know what I'm saying? So, but the whole thing is that we all got the feminine soul, okay? And we are just symbolizing or manifesting the masculine and the feminine on the physical plane. So the bottom line is that we raise the feminine soul, or the negative, or whatever you want to call it, out. And that's what we have in common. And that's what we need to work towards, because we've got different roles. On a basketball team or a football team, somebody got to rebound and somebody got to score. Everybody can't score. We all got different roles to try to, as a team, to win. And when we understand that, we can do the woman thing, we do the man thing, and try to bring the thing together so we can have the gold brick roads and streets and all that kind of stuff in the afterlife, which beats what we're doing now. Because Tupac said, he said, I wonder what hell got to offer, because it got to beat this. You know, so it's really bad for our people. So let's go into some science to try to figure out how we can manifest this this particular seed, which is who we really are. So this is a book called The Lion Path by Meadows. Meados. This is an excellent book. This goes into the anatomy of the melanin and how once your consciousness radiate to a certain point, how it start working. You know, Meados. Okay, we're about to go into that. But I want to show y'all this first to help understand when we read that what we are dealing with. Oh, can I write on this? Can I write on this? We got is it a pen or something up here? Oh, let me get that easel over there with a marker. Yeah, set it.
There you go.
Okay, let me get it right here. Okay.
Can you go in at the same time? Whatever.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, see, they gotta.
Well, yeah, we can turn that off right now.
I'm just saying, pull that out a little bit so they can. See, the people right here won't be able to see.
Okay.
Well, I guess. Well, trying to see where to get the best.
Well, I don't want to step on that's.
Still pull it out some so they can see a little bit.
Okay.
So everybody, I guess they can see it a little bit.
Okay. Let me step down. This is something, one day this just came, this concept. So a lot of times I teach with this to try to get a better understanding of that picture and also the Kabbalah, because it's all the same thing. Okay, this represents the subconscious mind. And this represents when we do something. For example, when you go home and you go to sleep and then you wake up and you see a stop sign when you're on your way to work in the morning, you haven't thought about a stop sign until you saw it the day before. So you will stop, and that's already in your subconscious mind to do that. So you will execute that at the point of use. Okay, and then, just every other little thing, drinking water, where everything is all plugged into your subconscious, just like serves as a memory bank. Same thing with music. You can have a song that you haven't heard in 10 years, and you hear it, and it takes you flash back to that song. That's all plugged into your subconscious. We got tons and tons and tons of this particular thing in our subconscious. It's like a computer chip that houses all of these records. So what has happened to us, and this is why they talk about the symbolical death, because when we wrote these scriptures down, we looked in futuristic eyes talking about right now. We got a whole bunch of junk put in our subconscious. Jesus is white, and the white man is superior. Columbus discovered America. We got to go through all of this bullshit that's in the way to help us get back here. You see what I'm saying? But back here is where all the cosmic memory is stored. For example, if you have a car radio, let's say, for instance, this car radio is eternal. It lives on and on. This car radio, it goes into one car. They say the car represents the woman, and the car represents the woman.
Yeah. You're holding it in one hand.
Yeah, the car represents the woman, and a truck or a van represents the man. So this particular car radio goes into a car or a woman, and then after that life is over, it goes into a truck or a man. And each time that it goes into a car or a truck, let's say the car lasts 100,000 miles before it burns out. But while it was in that truck, it accumulated a certain amount of knowledge and memory. You see what I'm saying? And this particular knowledge of memory is all stored in the deep subconscious. You see? So the problem is, we trying to figure out how to get and tap into this subconscious, but we got all of this junk in the way. And before we can tap into this, all of this has to die. That's that symbolical death. And that's another thing with the gender thing. If you take it personal, you're a woman, you probably was a man in the last lifetime. Or if you're a man, you may have been a woman in the last lifetime. It's looking at this thing on another higher level than just the physical plane. So what we're trying to figure out is how to tap into this particular, when we talk about tapping into the pineal gland and tapping into the melanin and all this kind of stuff, we have to do it through thought. But the thought operates on the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, and also the deep subconscious mind, which is that cosmic memory. You see, so we're trying to figure out how to break through here. Okay, and we're about to go into this lion path, and that's what it's dealing with. And that's the whole thing with the Egyptians. That's what they dealt with. Let me set this up. All right. Okay, it says, I am a child of the earth. Wait a minute. It says, I am a child of the earth and the starry heavens, but my race is of heaven alone. So Pluto is not only the lord of physical treasure on earth, but is the guardian of an even more precious treasure of superbiology. The metamorphosis of human to divine. So what that's dealing with is this. We got a couple of pictures. Here's one. There's one thing about the Egyptians, they put it right in your face. That's Anubis. Anubis is the preparer of the way. It says, the teaching was quite specific. The Osiris, or inert pupil stage, was the seat of the divine transformation. The divine transformative powers, and became the numinous egg or golden lotus bud, another Egyptian image that long antedates the Sanskrit. Out of the egg or eye will emerge the regenerated Osiris or Horus, brought forth by the womb power of the divine mother, Isis, Nut, whose star was the brightest in the heavens, the glorious Sirius. Necessary protection for the enfeebled Osiris was the as yet unmanifest but still very real power of Horus, the resurrected Osiris. But he does not only yet appear in manifest form and is at the point called either Horus in the dot, Horus in Sothis, Horus Soka, i.e. Horus, the kingdom of death, or Subdu, i.e. the male companion of tzawdoq. At any rate, a dark companion to Sirius, is attested to in the records both of the Egyptian-influenced Dogon and of ancient Egypt itself. So, Anubis is the dog. You know, you hear the dog star, the preparer of the way. Also, let me get that clearer. This is Pluto. This is Pluto right here, which is also the dot or the death. Now this is interesting because when you deal with the Kabbalistic system, oh, okay. All right. So y'all can hear me here. Okay, we'll do it like that. Okay, this is Pluto. Now we know with the Kabbalistic system, this is the point of separating the top three sephiros, which is the spiritual sephiros, from the physical sephiros down here. So it's interesting how they put Anubis. See how they got Anubis? He's administering the way so that Osiris or Horus can rise up. That's what that means. Anubis is the administrator. But also, they got Horus, the falcon of Horus, raising up Osiris. Now, what does this mean? I remember this one sister told me, she said, well, ain't everything gonna happen anyway? Why are we going through all this? Why we got to read all these books? Well, this is symbology dealing with us. This represents us, the Horus falcon. But we are to raise the dead, or raise that which fallen, Osiris, or that feminine soul we talk about. We are to raise that up, and we are to raise that up through thought. And, you know, anything else we can figure out to raise this up. That's what this is symbolizing. So what we have to do through thought, because we're trained to get something by a physical, we have to see it. That's the white man. We have to see it before we can believe it or line up with it. But the only people that have the ability to raise this up is the people in this room.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're the only ones that's even discussing this. I mean, just think of most of the people in here. Just think about where you were 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? This is insanity. You know, but this is the chaos spirit, and we are talking about transforming. So we are the ones that's supposed to raise Osiris up. If we don't do it, so, you know, who's going to do it? It ain't going to be them. Although we go get into that a little bit later, from an energy standpoint, that's happening a little bit too. But, so that's very important that we deal with that. Now, Bobby had talked about the heart fluttering. I'm talking about this cardia. Let me get this page. But I notice a lot of times when I raise the Kundalini up, my heart will start beating quick. Sometimes it beats so quick, sometimes I got to put the science down, like you had enough to drink. You know, but I understand what he's talking about when he's talking about this, the heart fluttering. And that's, you know, that's dealing with the Kundalini energy. So, right here it says, in attaining every really worthwhile step in your own life growth, certain fundamental realizations are prerequisite in the very simple sense that the condition of soil, water, air, and light must be right for a second to germinate and the plant to grow. The line path is above all a germination, a gestation, blossoming, and a metamorphosis. It partakes essentially of all the processes and awakes you to deeper and deeper levels of your being, levels that finally transcend the very limitations of the physical body and its comparatively clumsy, segmented, or worm-like structure. Talking about the physical body, yet so wonderfully contrived out of molecules. It is only, now this is key here, it says, it is only comparatively clumsy and cruel when compared to a higher body, meaning the soul. But on its own molecular level, it is a beautifully and subtly constituted transcendent. So on one hand, the human body, the ancients say that it's vile and it's terrible and all this kind of thing, but the human body, they say, is the place where the soul will transform itself. So the human body is an instrument for the soul to raise up out of this prison that a Dalibok set up, which makes it, how they say here, they say that's what makes it beautifully contrived. So we can use the human body to produce the results that we want, or we can let the cracker use it to do what they want. That's why they dehydrating us and all this. They're trying to shut, like the Valentine was saying, shut everything down to shut our vibration down. You see what I'm saying? But we are supposed to use the human body, and that goes a lot deeper than that. When you get into pimping of energy, because the more you get into these scriptures, the soul is really gangster-like as far as its energy. It cares, but it don't care at the same time. And it will use infantry as far as a lot of these people getting killed. It's like infantry, and that's kind of cold. But if this is a matrix, and this is all about the soul is real and the matrix is not real. Moralism. I mean, we got the nature for moralism, but we have to start thinking with things along energy, and only personalize it as a supplement to that energy. You see what I'm saying? Because this energy is taking place. That's the most important thing. It goes on. It says, actually, this occurs through a fantastically well-organized mass of specialized single-celled amoebas in the cranium. We call these highly specialized protozoa neurons, and our intelligence and choices operate through them as a computer program manifests its operation and purpose by means of countless branching nodes and a master silicone chip. In fact, the neural anatomy inspired the organization of tiny switching arrays of trees and computer chips. That's the Akashic records they're talking about. All the memory that, like we were saying, each car radio gets in each lifetime, that's stored in your memory bank. That's why Rudolf Steiner got a book called Cosmic Memory. That's another good one to get. That goes into Atlantis and Lemuria. That goes into that. And the reason they call it cosmic memory is this, because you got all of this memory that's stored up. So one thing about, just quickly touch on this church thing, we give the enemy the power to define. I mean, I grew up in the church, but I heard one speech by Farrakhan said Jesus was black. And for whatever reason, that just woke me up. It wasn't like that great of a speech. It's just this something, because common sense tells me if the white man is the enemy, if he has the power to define, that means that if he's my enemy and he's never done anything to help me, he's done things to destroy me, I'm supposed to do everything that if he say to do something, I'm supposed to do the opposite. And if he say something is bad, I'm supposed to go and try to line up with it. So if the white man gives you a church on every corner, like he gives you a liquor store on every corner, barbecue on every corner, they got churches in the middle of the block in Detroit. It's deep. I know some preachers in Detroit that I remember them when I was in high school used to be pimps. And they still are. It's just on another level. It's the same concept. I had saw, I was over with my partner, so they put this movie in, the Hughes brothers. What's that called? American Pimp? American Pimp. And I'm watching this. These brothers had they had the ability to make a woman go and sell it. She brings him all the money, and he don't even hit her or put her on drugs. That's some shit. I mean, think about that. You mean to tell me the sister gonna go and sell it? He didn't hit her. He ain't put her on. The reason he ain't put her on drugs because he said if she's strung out, that she ain't gonna be that good of a. She ain't gonna be able to turn tricks as good. You know what I mean? This is what they were saying in the movie. And these preachers with this brainwashing is doing this kind of thing in these churches. It's just on a spiritual level. It's the same thing. So, that's a trip. But, so, it says your brain, and by it, your biological body, however, is constantly re-responding according to your changing ways of thinking and your sensitivity to various contexts. The advanced group of protozoans that constitute your brain are called capable of master managing your entire physical organism through integrated electrochemical circuits and intensely powerful neurosecretion hormones called neuropeptides, although the origin of the volitional impulses is not found in the molecular realm. So what's happening is this. When you start raising the Kundalini, on one hand you have a base energy, but when you raise the Kundalini, wait a minute, let me show you this. When you raise the Kundalini and you start dealing with this type of consciousness up here, your body will start changing. First of all, you got the pineal gland, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland regulates the flow of melanin to the pineal gland. Okay? The hypothalamus gland controls the input and output signals of the central nervous system. So when you start, and that's done through thought. It's also done through dance and singing and everything. You get a rise that way. But through thought, when you start doing this like what we're doing on a regular basis, you start going through changes. Everybody in here got little stories. I've seen some white lights when I close my eyes. They got these visions and everything. When we're talking about the ears, I was working out the other week. You start working out and your ears start ringing. All this kind of stuff we got in common that we can go on with this thing. But what happens is when you raise the consciousness up, that's what starts happening. And that's that particular fire that Bobby was talking about. When you keep doing that, you get a tolerance, you keep doing that your vibratory rate goes up, and we can get attuned to all of these things and try to figure out what's going on. So that now we go here. Looks a lot better. But this is interesting how they had this picture. Okay. Now what you got there? One second. You got, this is the conscious mind right here, the lower mind. Once you go through here, how they have this set up, they call this Saturn's gate, connecting subconscious and conscious mind. Now, once your consciousness get here, it's like each time you go from one dimension to another, you go through what's called like a transitional period. It's like if you figure I'm about to swim. I haven't learned how to swim, so I'm gonna put my foot in the water and I take it away. And you put your leg in the water and you go into, and then once you get into the water, you're in a whole nother dimension. But when you first get there, you kind of a little uncertain. You know, y'all may have went through that this weekend. You got a consciousness, and Bobby or Valentine dropped something, and you be like, man. So you're like, what you say? I'm just thinking. And then next week, you be locked into a whole nother dimension. You see what I'm saying? But that goes on a grander scale when once you get beyond the physical consciousness and you radiate to the higher consciousness. When you do that, they have up here, they call this the higher self realm of Horus. You get these, they call it the rays of Horus will come through into your subconscious mind and help you consciously. So what this is talking about is I went through a stage of about 8 months when stuff would just come to me. I may read a little bit and then information would come. You see what I'm saying? That's dealing with this, these rays of Horus. And as we continue to raise our vibratory rate up, this type of information will keep coming so we can eventually, like Bobby said last night, to try to, to raise the kingdom up. So that's dealing with the lion path. And what I want to go into now is a little bit of quantum physics. Let me deal with this. Okay, this is a book, Parallel Universe, by Fred Allen Wolf. It's an excellent book on quantum physics. Parallel Universe by Fred Allen Wolf. It says on page 77, the second principle, reflection, I think of visually. I imagine parallel universes as parallel mirror reflections of this universe. In each mirror, there is a you and there is an object, I and it and I. And in each universe, there is a question. Why is this universe different from all others? Like the mirror situation, where the mirrors reflect an image of me, the parallel universes are somehow duplicating something real, a real universe. But what makes one universe more real than the other? Now, if you imagine, I don't think I can draw on this, but if you can imagine a sun, if this is the real universe, Sirius, and this is where we're at now, and this is a sun, this is the greater sun, let's say is here, and we have a sun here. The sun that comes here, let me draw it on here, that'd be better. Okay. Set it out. Okay, the sun that we see, we know that that's a reflected sun from Sirius. Okay, we already know that. So, this sun is like a mirror of this universe here, of Sirius. So that's what we're about to really get into this. That's why they're saying there's two things existing at once. And so use this mirror principle. Because everything over here is an emanation or reflection of the primal realm. But this primal realm, like when you see that little breakthrough on the overhead, that's now inside of us now, and we got it. And that's that soul or that feminine entity we keep talking about. You see what I'm saying? So it's important to understand that when we deal with this. So let's go back to this and deal with this. It says, but like transparent slides viewed simultaneously, these universes would actually superimpose together and appear as one. This superposition contains our minds in each one. And since our minds do not distinguish between the universes, that is, our normally attuned minds don't, or the physical mind, we fail to notice that each and every one of us is an infinite family. In the case of the electron, we would know, for example, that the electron was in a particular atom, but have no idea where it actually was located within that atom. Taken together, all of the infinite possibilities of the electron, all of the infinite universes in which the electron occupies a single point and no other. The electron is nowhere for sure, but it is in a stable energy state. The atom is normal, but the electron is schizophrenic, metaphorically speaking. Thus, we can view all of the infinite number of position possible universes as composing one single energy universe. The gathering of universes into a normal universe accounts for our presence. Now that's key because it's interesting how they say it's a universe, it's a union of verses. We got the primal universe, which is inside of us, and then we got the exterior universe that we see, the holographic universe. So it's a union verse, a union of verses, a union of realms. And that's why they talk about this transparent. Like the brother say, you see it like this? See what I'm saying? But it's you know what I'm saying? It's giving you the illusion that it's two, but only one is consistent. Without such coalescing correlate, you know how something comes together, there is no stability possible. So that means that without Sirius, the soul universe, this universe can't exist. That's why they haven't killed all of us. Do you ever think about how come they haven't killed all the black people? I mean, because they got the power to do it. That means they have to keep a certain amount of us alive just to have this realm. Otherwise, they would have killed all of us. As much as they hate us, they can use the Mexicans to work. You know what I'm saying? You know, so you know, that's what that's talking about. So they need you. Like the sister said earlier, if we just stop doing everything, it would be over instantly. You know what I'm saying? But we ain't there. We still into the JC, and you know, it's this sister at work. And I have a white supervisor, a white lady supervisor. And they took one of the sisters from our staff and put them on this staff with a black woman supervisor. And after about a week, she went to the white, the white head, the supervisor. And she said, well, I don't want to work for a black woman supervisor. I want my white woman supervisor because a white woman supervisor is better than the black woman supervisor, and the black woman supervisor can't tell me nothing. I want my white supervisor back because she's a better supervisor. And this is supposed to be corporate America or whatever. So they need black people like that with the soul to keep pumping energy into this thing, It said, this universe we inhabit contains something apparently unique, yet there seems to be a hidden principle at work. That's that soul rising. There is a matching or gravitational energy, and that's what that black hole is talking about. It says, some scientists argue that there does indeed exist a guiding principle which fine-tunes the cosmos to such incredible accuracy. This is called the 8Apr principle. It says that from an infinite number of possibilities, nature could have selected to make a universe. It selected this one so that we could be created. If we added to this the parallel universe idea, then nature plays it safe. She creates all universes, even those where consciousness doesn't exist. What about the others? They mirror our own, but they slightly differ, with slightly different values. Yet when all the differences are taken into account, there appears to be an order arising. And that order arising is talking about our soul. And that is the second coming and the new universe that they're talking about. Okay, let me deal with this right quick. The reason for this lies in the way in which quantum physics predicts reality. How any object of our everyday experience arises. According to the quantum rules, we cannot ever know and experience simultaneously all that is in principle knowing. That's key. Why we face this perverse state of knowledge and existence is not known. Of course, we know how to handle the rules governing the game of knowledge and existence. Those are the quantum rules. But we cannot fathom why they should be so strange. One thing is clear, though. Self plays a role in what is seen to be not self. Suppose that you consider a camera. You can determine the location of an object, say a high-speed bullet, by taking its picture. Of course, if the object is moving fast, your picture will be blurred unless you use a very rapid shutter speed. The more you attempt to pin down the location of the object, the faster your shutter speed must be. But you pay a price for accuracy of location. The bullet doesn't appear to be moving in the photograph. In fact, you can't be sure of its path, its direction through space at all. On the other hand, by allowing a slow shutter speed, you do capture a blurred line showing the trajectory. You do photograph the path, but you lose the object's position by doing so. Gaining the path, you lose the position, and vice versa. And one key thing they said there was that according to the quantum rules, we cannot ever know and experience simultaneously all that there is. Now, there's two things to that. One, I had a partner. We was doing a lecture, a study one day, and he was asking me these questions. He was like, he kept asking me how to understand this and how to understand this, but he was trying to understand it on a physical consciousness kind of way. There's one thing about this Kabbalah It tells you everything you need to know in a chart. You can understand stuff on a chart form. He kept telling me, well, how do you understand this? And the reason they just said that you can't understand everything simultaneously, this goes back to that symbolical death. If you're trying to understand something based on the top 3 sephiras, your consciousness has to be raised up to that point. And I was reading the Hermetic scriptures, and Tat was saying, he was saying, Father, you explain to me all this kind of stuff, and you're talking in riddles. Talk to me straight like a father to his son. And what he was telling me is he was like, say, you don't understand. You're trying to ask me something that is non-sensual. We're not talking about touch, taste, feel, smell of the earth, wind, fire, or the elements or whatever. We're talking about something primordial that came about before that. So in order to understand something that's non-physical or non-logical, you have to use that type of application just to comprehend it. And that's what Hermes was teaching his son Tat. And that's what this is talking about. Once you go through here, that's why Anubis is here, because you're prepared to go to the next side or the other side or the dark side to start dealing with the higher knowledge. Until you kill off all of the physical knowledge, this is never going to make sense. That's why in the Matrix, the first thing they did with Neo, when he got the pill, I mean, he didn't sign the form, he said a quick hello. First thing they did, they unplugged him from the Matrix. They didn't say, what's your name or nothing. They didn't say, wait, no, they already had it set up. You go here, checkpoint, they unplug him from the Matrix immediately, and then before they even do anything to teach him, then they start teaching. You see what I'm saying? And that's what this is talking about. That's what this means. That's what that picture of Anubis means. You see what I'm saying? And then he could start learning. But until that happens, so my point is that this is the physical universe here, down here. And this is the primal universe. Although we do know there's an alchemical tree that's even greater than this. But this is dealing with that deep subconscious knowledge, or the primal knowledge, the soul knowledge. And you can't view both of them at the same time. This has to die off. And then once that dies, then you can attain this. So, okay, now that leads me to this. This is, for anybody that hasn't, that doesn't know that much about the Kabbalah, I would recommend this book. This is exactly what it says. It's an introduction to the Kabbalah. A lot of times you get these Kabbalahs and they really advanced and you're trying to figure out what's going on. This is a basic, if you get this is a basic understanding of this Kabbalah. It's Introduction to the Kabbalah with a C by Sev Ben Shimon Halvi, or Haliv, Evi. This is an excellent book to get for an introduction to the Kabbalah. Now in here, okay, that is a tree of the planets. Okay, that's a tree of the planets. Okay, we're going to deal with this. Now this is talking about the octaves. Like the brother was talking about the music. Now, as we descend toward the lower end of matter, density increases. Density is the amount of something per volume. 20 minutes? 10? Okay. As we descend towards the lower end as we descend towards the lower end of matter, density increases. That is, more particles are packed into smaller space. Likewise, when we look at vibrations, and these are interchangeable, with the particles of matter, these appear to increase also. But basically what this is saying, let me just hurry up and cut through this. As we descend into matter, density increases. Density is something per volume. Something's like I got the amount of density basically is the volume of something. So it's interesting with the music and also with the consciousness. As we descend into matter, or the earth matter, consciously, and also from a planet standpoint, the density rises up, meaning things are more cluttered. From a music standpoint, it's like if you play in a guitar and you it's not that much room for flexibility. It's like it's scrambled. You know what I'm saying? So if you apply that to consciousness, it's like when we first grew up, we had all of that bullshit in our subconscious mind. All of this represents a whole bunch of density. But as your consciousness start raising up the tree, this start getting smaller and smaller, and it start becoming more at ease. You start getting a little more peace of mind to start understanding something on a higher level. See what I'm saying? And that's why with these planets, now look how they got this set up here. You got Saturn, Uranus, and Jupiter at the top of the tree. It's because each of these planets have the most satellites or moons. Now what are these moons talking about? These moons, it acts as a synthesis so that the physical can take the energy better. It's like if this is the sun, if you just got one moon right here, the energy is not as strong. But those planets near the top of the Kabbalah got like 13 moons. That means that the energy at that point is so strong that it takes 13 moons. It's like it's no different if you have a drink and then you got to put some juice or something in it to kill the taste so you can handle it. But the reason that these have so many moons is because at the top, this is where Kendaly is. This is the third eye. This is where all the juice is. So therefore, these planets have to have a lot of moons. But then going back to the music thing, with the jazz, it's more keyed. You know, you got the horn, you got the saxophone. You put you some Coltrane on or whatever. You know, some Miles, and it's more cool, and that opens you up spiritually because it's a rhythm. The density isn't as high here. So it has more room for flexibility. That's why we can be in here, we into all different kind of things because you're more flexible in your consciousness. But when you're down here, it's just a set standard of how things are. You ever go to the hood, everything is already said. You're supposed to be interested in this, and that, and that's it. There's no room for flexibility. But up here, you got a whole bunch of flexibility. You see what I'm saying? So that's key. So there's a lot more I want to cover, but we've got a few minutes. Real quick, you asked a question yesterday, I remember. You said, why does their penis get hard in the morning? It's like if you ever drink and then afterwards you get the munchies, it has like an aftertaste. See, the pineal gland and the penis, both of them are penises. You have a spiritual penis and a physical penis. What happens is melanin, it comes alive at night. You can secrete serotonin during the day, but the melatonin comes alive at night. You see what I'm saying? So what happens is this melanin is starting to cook at night. So in the morning, the aftertaste of it is that once the spiritual penis is going and going and going, then the aftertaste, is then you have a physical erection. Because the melanin and the kundalini energy and the sexual energy is all one and the same. You see what I'm saying? You start reading a lot of this stuff and raising your kundalini up, you get real horny. Not like you do in the morning, because that melanin makes you horny. Big time. You see what I'm saying? So, just one quick thing. You go see the movie Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy. Vampire in Brooklyn, you know, he was from Egypt, you know, and because the whole Dracula thing and melanin all had the same characteristics. So Angela Bassett, not knowing who she was, he was trying to give her everlasting life. But one key thing in that movie, which also is another aspect of this this transmutation, is that Dwayne Wayne, or what's his name, Kadeem Hardison? Yeah, he was breaking down in the movie. He was literally falling apart. You see what I'm saying? And from him, and as he was falling, that's like our people. From an energy standpoint, not necessarily emotional and everything, we're talking about energy here. His consciousness was so damaged that he was literally falling apart, symbolically. But at the end, he got the prize. Just like, you know, putrefaction leads to illumination, they dropped it right there. Kadeem Hardison shut down, and then at the end, he got the stone. Remember that? And he was the man then. You know what I'm saying? Another movie to get is Star Trek Generations. That's a movie. Kirk had died on the Starship Enterprise, and Picard and them had what happened was the guy that caused the situation for him to die was working on this experiment, and this experiment he was trying to go through a wormhole that was coming. It was similar to that black hole. They keep having these movies dealing with that black hole, and so Picard and them was trying to figure out how to stop him. And they had to get to him because he had isolated himself from everybody. So Picard goes there, and he tried to stop him, but what happened was they called this thing the Nexus. But this Nexus was talking about a doorway to get to the other side, or the Great Mother Realm. And Whoopi Goldberg played a key part because she was saying, once you go to the Nexus, you ain't going to want to come back. Once you get beyond this physical realm, you ain't gonna want to come back here. So as soon as Picard died, he was still in the physical. And Kirk, if y'all saw the movie, Kirk had died 80 years before in the movie, or however many years it was before the movie. And Picard, as soon as he died, he was right there with Kirk in the Nexus. But this Nexus is that afterlife. That's bad. And so what happened was, Picard was trying to convince Kirk to go back to the physical plane to try to stop this guy from creating this Nexus. The Nexus is what we're trying to bring about. You know what I'm saying? So Kirk was like, no, you know, I got a wife and all this kind of stuff. But it's interesting in that movie, he was downstairs, and they were, you know, he was cooking dinner for his wife or whatever, and then he went upstairs. And when he went upstairs, you think it's the bedroom because he heard his wife saying, I want to eat. He go up there, it's a horse stable. It didn't make no sense. It's about like our dreams. Our dreams don't make sense because the physical brain cannot comprehend the intensity of the soul realm. The energy is so strong. I had a vision like that. The energy was so strong that it's beyond humankind. It's like trying to comprehend 50,000 degrees in an oven and 500 is hot. The human brain, that's why when we dream, it has to be synthesized. That's why we dream and we in a bedroom and then we riding a horse and then we on the beach. It don't make sense. And they was dropping all of that in that Star Trek movie. But anyway, Kirk eventually goes back to the physical plane, and they defeated the guy and won the little thing, and then he died again. But the important thing was that was the whole Christ thing. Kirk was on the physical. He died. He was the ancestor. Picard died later, or the symbolical death, went back to tap into his cosmic memory, because Kirk was also a captain on the Enterprise, came back to the physical, won the little battle, and then he died again. That's the same thing with that Jesus thing. He was dead, he was alive. He rose for a few. They killed him. He rolled. He went to the death. Then he rose back up. Then he died again. That whole thing they dropped in the Star Trek, Generations. You know, so they dropped that too. One more thing. With these dreams, if this is the illusion realm and then the dream is the real realm, one thing that I'm starting to get is to try to study, like we talk about these horror, the comic books and like horror stuff, to try to put things in the subconscious mind that's dealing with something that's not necessarily on the physical plane. So when we go and we dream these things, we dream about physical things, and then it never lines up completely. Try to put things on the subconscious that's, I don't know, somebody with 3 heads or something that's so different and weird. So when we go and dream, maybe we start dreaming about those kind of things. You know, so they cut me off, so any questions, we bring the brother up. You say what? Yeah, I think I took 20. Well, yeah, we can go for some more. Okay, yeah, I can use some more time. But yeah, what's the question?
I wanted to express the appreciation in which you dealt with, the way that you dealt with the subjects. You dealt with quantum physics and parallel universe, but didn't attempt to speak it over anyone's head to make it seem as though this is something much more difficult than it really is to grasp.
Yeah.
Right.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Because one thing about that is this is a lot of knowledge. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, Bobby get up here, he goes for like 18 straight hours and still ain't tired. A lot of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, this is all that it really is. That's it. Basically, when y'all was arguing, plus and minus. That's all you got to say. That's it. So, but my point is, once you understand this, and then you see one thing about we look at the physical realm and just understand the basic applications. The basic way that the physical realm works. Anything created, once it's created, once it goes through puberty, it's at its strongest point. And when it's at its strongest point, then it starts deteriorating. It's like you born, and once you're a young, strong man or woman, but as you get older, you start wearing down. You see what I'm saying? That's like us with the evolution of our particular history in this particular realm. When we first got here, we had direct connection together or to the Most High, the soul inside of us. But as time had evolved, we start losing the power. That's why in Atlantis and Lemuria, we could do all of those things. We could talk through mental telepathy. Yes. We could build the pyramids like just taking the granite and doing like this. That's why when you see Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, they're doing all like this kind of stuff, they get all that from us. The reason we can do all that is because when we first got here, the energy, the connection was closer to the soul. So it's just like y'all saw the movie Star Trek 1979. That's one, you did write that one down. Star Trek 1979, the motion picture. But in that V'ger, V'ger was, she had, in other words, they had that same black hole they talked about in 1979 in that movie Star Trek 79. But anyway, they used one of the sisters on the Enterprise to be a probe, and she had direct connection with V'ger, and she was walking through walls and all this kind of stuff. And that's what we used to do in Atlantis and Lemuria. And so we had access to all of these powers. But as time evolved, we started losing that. We started falling more and more prey to the physical. And that's why we got to do all of these rituals and do all the Vodun stuff to try to exercise ourselves, to meditate ourselves, to study ourselves, to try to tap into something that we used to have. And I was thinking about that. We was down in Jacksonville, and his brother, I think he was from Ghana or something. He's from Ghana. And he was telling us about the culture. He was telling us how, the young men, they would train them and they would jump. And then on the 20th jump, the brothers is jumping up here. He used to say things like they used to take the sisters' work. They put a 500-pound basket of their chores for the day. The brothers got to lift it up, and these sisters do like this, and they walk up a mile on the hill. We don't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? They said that that they would take the boys. They'd be 12 years old. Rites of passage. You're supposed to be a man now. They give you a little pocket knife and a satchel of rice. They don't even give you no water in the hot African sun. Your responsibility is to go out and get a lion's skin and bring it back. Might take you a day, might take you a week, might take you a month. Some come back, and some don't. We don't know nothing about that. My rites have consisted of a 40-ounce and throwing up and my big brother laughing at me. That was my rites of passage, you know what I'm saying? So we don't know nothing about, but my point to that is this. All of the scriptures say that us here in America, we are the ones that's supposed to do this thing. We are the ones that's supposed to rise the soul up. See what I'm saying? And it has to be more than a physical act. It has to be through the mind. And why am I saying that? Is because in alchemy, they talk about this elixir. Elixir is you mix, the whole alchemical thing is turning base metals into gold. We're mixing a lot of different elements and fine-tuning them into a pristine gold. That's that philosopher's stone they call the lapis lazuli. You see what I'm saying? So the people here in America, from the Caribbean on up into Canada, especially here in America, all these different tribes that we come from, each and every one of us, we come from so many different tribes on the continent. I know a brother from Nigeria. He told me they speak, this is what he told me. He said that they speak over 200 languages in Nigeria. 200 in one country. And that's after colonization. So my point is that there's a lot of, so when you take a Nigerian, you take somebody from Ghana, you take somebody from the Ivory Coast, Senegal, Kenya, and all this kind of stuff, and you mix all of that up as slaves, because we just started mating with each other. Because before that, we used to stick with tribes. Just how the cracker, Germans marry Germans, French and French, Italians. They serious about that. That's how we used to be. And then we just start mixing together as slaves. So we have all of these different tribes and all of this stuff inside of us. So we are the ones that can do this thing. We are hooked up from a physical standpoint to do it. You see what I'm saying? That's why all the scriptures say that we go do it. And that's why even in, like I said, the Ken Burns jazz, one thing about it, we were ex-slaves after 1865. We went through slavery for hundreds of years. We get out of slavery, and we invented all the modern technologies, all this light bulb and cellular phones and all this kind of stuff. We did that in America. Half the stuff in your kitchen come from one black man, George Washington Carver. We did that. These crackers tell us how inferior we are. I've seen people from the continent, from the Caribbean, or from other blacks from other parts of the world say that we're nothing but slaves and stuff, and saying that we're nothing. And I mean, we are crazy, but on the other hand, all the shit they got in the world, modern inventions, it came from the niggas in America. We did that. Not in Africa, not in Australia, but in America. We did it.
One point I noticed also, most of the invention was done without education.
Without education.
We don't have with this modern education, what we have, we ain't did nothing.
Right. Right. So, give it up for yourself. And don't let nobody come in your face and tell you that you're nothing. Because you in America, and you ain't got no culture. Because when they turn their light on, watch their TV, use their cell phone, use their washer, use their dryer, it's the niggas in America that did that. And we created that jazz as ex-slaves. We couldn't read. Yeah.
They wouldn't let it overhear. Wow.
This sister came up, and I was interviewing her, and she told me she had her own agency, so she's supposed to be, I guess you would say, up on it or whatever. And she saw my ring, I'm doing the app. She, and I don't even try to discuss the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? She kept pressing me, tell me something, And I mentioned about jazz, and she said, I think she said, I don't listen to secular music. I just listen to gospel. You know what I'm saying? This Christian thing is the things you can and can't do. But we went to the jazz festival, and it was mainly white people there. Wasn't even many. We don't even appreciate. We can't even go back to Run DMC. You know what I'm saying? Earth, Wind, and Fire. That stuff, you feel that. This stuff, no, I mean, I'm young saying that. Even the hip hop this is garbage. You get you some PE.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Some X-Clan.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Talk about jazz. There's a book called The Secret Power of Music by David Kane. And it talks about the origin of jazz and the origin of the word jazz. And they, for the longest, they didn't even agree on how to spell it. Because
Yeah.
it was a sound, jazz was a
wow.
sound that came from Africa that had something to do with sex or sexual energy. So they used to spell it J-A. They didn't know how to spell it because it was an African word. So they spelled it J-A-S, J-A-C-Z, J-A-S-S. And up until recently, they agreed to spell it J-A-Z-Z.
Mm-hmm.
And all it has to do with is sexual energy.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why they try to keep us from dealing with it.
Right.
It's secular.
Right, because when you deal with it, when you deal with jazz, you can go into you can go slow with it. You can do the swing. It's a whole bunch of adaptability. I mean, the improvisation is the art to it. You get you a basic beat, you can go with the horn, you go with a guitar, you know what I'm saying, you go with a flute, and all of that is, the tension is eased. And that's why those, and that's with the higher you get up is the easier the density get, the less density it is. So the music and our consciousness revolve around this density, but this density is nothing but the amount of something that's in the way in order for you to get to something. You know what I'm saying? So the more you kill off the physical stuff, is the easier the spiritual knowledge can come.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on jazz. My dad is a jazz musician. Freddie Hubbard's his younger brother. So I grew up with jazz, and I was always the one out of 9 children. I was always the one sitting there at my dad's rehearsals, with the whole band. So my dad and I are the only ones out of the 11-member family who are not into this bullshit Christianity and all that crap.
Mm.
So it worked.
Yeah.
In that book, it also points out that it's David Kane, Hemmitt. But in the book, it also mentions that it's not the jazz. A lot of the jazz that we know today is the avant-garde jazz and free jazz. Before they orchestrated it and put it into formalized it. And it also said that rock, heavy metal rock, is an extension of that, which takes it to a crazy level. But they put eggs at the front of the stage. It talks about a research they've done where they put eggs at the front of the stage at rock concerts, and by the middle of the rock concert, they can eat the egg as a hard-boiled egg because the energy is so high. So they hate the white kids messing with that rock music the same way that they hate black people messing with the jazz music because of the chaotic energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got 7 minutes, so.
Okay.
Oh, I need to. We'll do something later on that. Now we got the tapes,
Yeah.
got about 7 minutes, so we'll just have to come back and do something. But I need to close out for a minute now, so we can give the people out here time to sell something. Because brother Otim come on in about 2 hours, so we need to give them something out in the hallway. It's always good, hear a young brother doing this,
That's right.
Y'all give it up. I know you got some partners on sale lock deep. So you know how that goes. Shoot. So that's well and all, and I'm talking about science too. You know, so y'all give Brother Kossivi another black hand.